creating or reinforcing bias is an issue that must be addressed with generative AI in terms of ethics. Here we have a data set that has some bias included inside of it. It could have stereotypes, discrimination, could have some hate embedded inside of this information. And if you're training on this model and not addressing it, you're then going to put it into a system that can generate even more of that bias. So you're reinforcing the bias. A good example would be in the case of generative AI content that is being put onto a recommendation engine. The harmful bias could actually have higher engagement. So there's a profit that is actually achieved by this model that was trained on biased data. And it's actually, the profit is even amplified by this harmful stereotype that's being propagated, misinformation. And the recommendation engine is fed on only that metric. So as a result, not only did you originally create the bias, so that's the creation, you've also reinforced that bias by recommending it to millions of people or even billions of people. And this is a real problem because on the one hand, the social media company could actually earn those profits, but society is actually going to pay for that cost. So there could be further discrimination, there could be hate crimes, there could be all kinds of implications to society that occur from this reinforcement of bias. So this is an important thing to consider. A few of the things that we can think about is that if we go to the beginning here, how does this work? Well, let's say you collected a biased data set that was tied to past user engagement. So again, that was maybe some harmful behavior that occurred previously. You then optimize for clicks and shares and outrage. And this could involve, again, harmful content. And then it will create a filter bubble and toxic personalization. So people are gravitating towards this toxic content. And again, it makes the company lots of revenue. And so as a result, that company profit is increased by outrage and misinformation and overall engagement. And then the more time a user is spending really on the site, you'll get more ads and you'll be able to sell higher prices, maybe in the short term. And then those short-term growths and profit rise will feel like things are going in the right direction. But again, as we mentioned earlier, the discrimination from the data that's being propagated and the stereotyping of marginalized groups, these are costs that society has to pay. And it could further entrench and divide and even erode understanding with a complex topic. And so long term, this could cause a rise in extremism, violence, instability. So in a nutshell here, it isn't a theoretical issue. It's a real issue that has to be dealt with generative AI systems. And you have to think about oversight on optimizing engagement algorithms and even changing what's required to incorporate the ethical considerations, and also have policy reforms to address these toxic business models. So just because the company is making profit, all profit doesn't mean that it's always good. There could be harmful stereotypes that are the result of this profit. And as a result, society has to deal with the consequences. So there could be taxes that could address this issue. There could be legislation that could address this issue. There could be AI ethics training that could address this issue. In fact, all of those together could be the start of really thinking carefully about going beyond just profit, but thinking about a holistic picture of what it's like to build systems that people use and what are those effects on society.